All right, everybody, welcome back to part two with our interview with Roger Carlson. Roger, throughout your racing career, you've had a lot of accomplishments. Is there anything that sticks out in your head that you're proud of most?
Well, most I was proud of doing 2 years in a row as a Minnesota state champion in dirt late models. And
That was the race that was held here at Hibbing,
correct,
and yeah, you won it like 71 and 72, I believe.
yes.
Okay.
And another good one was running with the IMCA. I set a world record out in Fargo, North Dakota. And then plus my various track championships at tracks and everything I enjoyed.
Now, you won several track championships, but you probably could have won more. But you like to travel around, go to different places, run some big shows. So therefore, you kind of have to submit to any track championships when you do that.
Yeah, we wouldn't chase points. I mean, if we like to go somewhere and race, we'd take off and be gone for the weekend or whatever.
And I would assume you have a lot more fun doing that.
It was quite a bit of fun, yes.
Now, in IMCA, I did a little research, and you had some pretty good stats. That was a big thing back then. And you held the world record for the 7-lap world time in 7-lap race at Fargo with the IMCA. IMCA's book had you listed at 15th overall in their power rankings.
For the year, yes.
Yeah. You ran 8 shows total in 1967. You got second in Fargo one time to Ernie Durr, which is quite an accomplishment. Ernie Durr and Ramos Stott were
They were number 1 and 2 in the nation.
there were some pretty nationally recognized people. You got 5th twice in Fargo. You got 4th twice in Minot. Those are some pretty good stats running in such a huge division at the time, I guess.
And those two were factory cars, and then they had a couple factory Fords in the field too, so we were running against quite a lot of competition.
And you also ran at the state fair.
Correct. We ran the North Star 500 at the Minnesota State Fair on asphalt,
That's a 500 lapper.
500 lap.
And how'd you end up there?
I ended up 7th in that race.
Okay. Do you remember who won that?
No, offhand I don't. Probably was,
I think it might have been Ramos Stott.
I think it was Ramo.
Yeah. So I mean, those guys are some pretty heavy hitters.
Yes, they were.
Finish in the top 10.
They were doing it professionally.
You know, to finish in the top 10 on a 500 lap asphalt race is pretty impressive.
3 hours and 29 minutes.
That's got to make a neck sore.
It was.
Okay. Now I seen somewhere where you had a trophy from 1965 that they presented you, an undefeated trophy in the sportsman division.
That was driving for Ben Orlando, his car, and I drove it about a half a dozen times that year, and every time I drove it, I won with it. So it was sort of exciting to do that for him.
That must have been quite a fun ride then. Every time you stepped in it, you win a race.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay. A couple other stories I heard about. Your infamous Flying 1A Modified. There's a story that you guys purchased that somewhere, and on the way home you stopped somewhere to race it. What's that story?
We bought the car out in Valley City, North Dakota, and we were on our way home, and there was a race that evening at Glendon, Minnesota. That's when it was an asphalt track, and we had a dirt modified, and we stopped there and looked around. And we figured, what the heck, as long as we're here, let's race here. Make a few little gas money for coming home, and we ended up, we won, not won, but got 3rd in the feature that night, and so that was sort of...
So that was a car you never stepped foot in.
Never stepped in.
It was a complete dirt modified.
Yes.
And you guys ran on asphalt.
Asphalt.
And got 3rd. That's pretty cool. And something similar happened one time with one of your Ford Galaxies that Don Mohawk owned.
Yeah, we were also coming back from Minot, running an IMCA race out there, and it was Sunday. We stopped at Bemidji, and they were racing, and we figured, what the heck, let's give it a try. So we unloaded the car there and ended up with a clean sweep with it, and sort of special just pulling in there and doing that.
That definitely makes a trip worth it when you can knock off a couple races on one swing. Do you remember your last race ever?
Yes, I do. 1995, Proctor, Minnesota. Johnny Johnson had a Gigolo car then, number 31, and he asked me to, he hurt his back real bad and asked if I would drive for him that night.
Was that 95 or 85?
85.
Yeah, I think 85 might have been more of the Gigolo chassis area. 95 might have been a little too new for Gigolo.
Oh, did I say 95?
Yeah.
Oh,
That
yeah, it was 85.
Okay.
1985.
And you ran Johnny Johnson's car.
Johnny Johnson's car.
Why did he have you drive again?
He had a bad back that night.
Oh,
He
okay.
couldn't drive, so I ended up driving and won the heat and feature, got a clean sweep with it.
And so that was your very last
That
race.
was my last ride.
Well, you definitely ended on a good note. In your career, you were friends with Bob Gisola.
Yes, very good friend of Bob.
I've heard, I never knew him up until less than a year ago, and then I've heard a lot about him. But he was quite the wheelman on both dirt and asphalt.
Bob was a very good shoe. He run IMCA, he run a lot of independent, and then he run USAC also.
Other than driving, have you been involved in racing at all throughout your lifetime?
Very involved. I took care of, maintained a few tracks. I flagged at 4 tracks, and also done some head judging and any other thing, I guess.
Are you currently involved in racing?
I flagged at Hibbing now for the last 2 years,
Oh, so right up until this day, you're right in the mix.
involved with it,
So-
yes.
So that's well over 60 years of being heavily involved in racing.
Very long time.
Well, that's quite impressive to be able to give that much for your life to the sport. Your son Bobby also raced cars
Bobby
for quite a
raced
few.
cars, yes, he has,
So you helped him on his cars, I'm assuming.
quite a bit.
Okay. Is there anybody that you'd like to give some thanks to for helping you throughout your career?
Well, I'd like to thank Mohawk. He was a big part in my racing, and there's so many people that I'd just like to thank everybody. It was a great run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got to know Don Mohawk well after his racing years. I knew him through his snowmobile business. Seemed like a very nice guy.
Very nice.
He was very nice to me all the time. Before we go today, I guess, is there anything that you'd like to say, or any advice do you have for the race fan in general? Or
No, it'd be nice if everybody would find a friend and head to the racetrack and get the crowd built up again and have some good racing. It would bring more drivers in, and it would be very interesting. I'd just like to thank everybody again.
just try to pump a little life back into our sport,
There you go.
and get it where it once used to be.
Make it fun.
Okay. Well, Roger, I really appreciate you sitting down with us today for this interview, and I thank you for taking time out and stopping in. I appreciate it very much, so thank you, and I'll see you around at the track.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.